Hey guys, welcome back. Today I've got one of the heaviest stories I've ever covered. This one comes from a guy who, to this day, swears he'll never mess with the paranormal again, and after you hear what happened, you'll totally understand why. He grew up in a loosely Christian household. Catholic school for a bit, Bible stories here and there, but nobody was super religious. By age 12, he was obsessed with everything spooky. Ancient aliens, ghosts, conspiracies, demons, you name it. He devoured it all, but it was just fun entertainment, till his family moved into a new house. First house they almost bought, his grandma got a bad feeling on the second floor. His mom swore she saw a little girl staring out the upstairs window. Turns out years earlier, a little girl had died in a fire up there. They ended up passing because of roaches, thank God, and bought a different house a few towns over. The old owner stopped by the day they moved in and casually mentioned, "Oh, by the way, my mom passed away in this house. She loved it here. She might pop in sometimes, but she's friendly. Don't worry. Okay? Cool. Thanks for that." Fast forward a couple years, our guy is 15. Christmas rolls around, and he unwraps a brand new Ouija board. He knows the rule. Never use it alone. But one day, he and his buddy are hanging out in the basement, and the friend chickens out. So, being a cocky teenager who thinks he's immortal, he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." Puts his fingers on the planchette, asks a few questions. Nothing happens. He laughs, boxes it back up, totally disappointed. That was the single worst mistake of his life. Within days, weird stuff starts. Lights flickering, doors creaking open by themselves, his dogs growling at empty corners. At first he's thrilled, like, yes, I finally made contact. Because remember, this is what he'd been chasing for years. 16 years old, he's walking from the kitchen into the living room, and in his peripheral vision sees a woman in a pink dress heading the other direction. He gets to the living room. His mom is sitting on the couch in completely different clothes. He realizes whatever he just saw wasn't human. He's pumped. He decides it's the friendly old lady who died in the house, his own personal guardian spirit. That feeling of safety? Huge mistake number 2. Because over the next 2 years, everything goes straight to hell. Insomnia hits hard. Cold spots appear that make your skin crawl. Doors slam on their own. Stuff gets thrown off shelves. Batteryless dolls start talking. TVs turn on full blast white static, even when unplugged. One night he's reading in the basement and thinks, man, people used to say Harry Potter was evil. That's ridiculous. The second that thought finishes, the light bulb above his head explodes, glass flying everywhere. He bolts upstairs, flips the hallway light, that bulb explodes too. Then the living room bulb, then the upstairs one. For bulbs one after another, like something is following him through the house. His closet door starts opening no matter how many chairs or locks he uses. Some nights he feels the mattress sink as something heavy crawls up the bed right next to him, invisible but making deep dents in the springs. He'd freeze, terrified to even breathe. Worst of all, he'd watch family members sleeping, and their arms would slowly rise straight up like a puppet on strings. One night he's crashing on an air mattress in his little brother's room because he's too scared to sleep alone. And he watches his brother's arms lift. His brother wakes up mid-lift, freaks out, and sprints face first into the wall like a cartoon character. They didn't sleep at all that night. Then comes the absolute breaking point. He's 18 now, finally brave or numb enough to sleep alone in the basement again. His tiny Chihuahua baby, the sweetest, most timid dog you've ever met, jumps on his chest like always. 30 seconds later, she's standing up, hackles raised, growling and baring teeth at thin air. Then she whimpers, tail between her legs, and bolts off him. Before he can even process it, his arms are pinned to his sides. His whole body slammed flat into the couch so hard it feels like his soul gets pushed 5 feet through the cushions. There's nothing visible holding him down. But the hatred pouring off this thing is indescribable. Pure, concentrated evil that wants to erase him from existence. He said in that moment he knew, without a doubt, that hell is real and this thing came from there. He tears through the house in his boxers, every light bulb exploding behind him. Bursts into his parents' room screaming, shaking them. They won't wake up, like they're drugged. Runs to his little brother's room. Same thing. Crawls into bed with his brother, pulls the covers over his head like a 5-year-old, and the entity pins him again and again, over and over, 10 times at least, on the edge of his mind snapping completely. In total desperation, he remembers one thing from his childhood: the name of Jesus. The second he screams it out loud, everything stops. Dead silence. Gone. For the first time in years, he sleeps through the night. 15 years later, at the time he wrote this, he has never had another paranormal experience. It's not a knock, not a cold spot, nothing. The next day, his parents help him look up how to get rid of a Ouija board. Everything online says burn it. They take it out to the backyard fire pit, douse it in gasoline, and it will not burn. They finally just toss it in the trash and pray that's enough. He says, on his life, on his soul, not one word of this is exaggerated. And the fact that the second he called on Jesus, it all ended instantly and permanently, that's what turned a lifelong skeptic into a believer. So yeah, moral of the story, some doors aren't meant to be opened, and some things on the other side are begging for an invitation. If that one didn't give you chills, I don't know what will. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever had something like this happen after messing with a board. And until next time, we leave the Ouija in the box. Story 2. I'm 27, living in the Bay Area, and I am absolutely addicted to solo hiking in the Northern California redwoods. By this point, I've been up to Mendocino County more times than I can count. I know those forests like my own backyard. I've slept in them, eaten in them, run miles off trail just to feel like the last human on Earth. I thought I'd seen everything those woods could throw at me. That June weekend, I pushed deeper than ever before. 18 miles in, no marked trails, no people, nothing but ancient coastal redwoods and silence so thick you can hear your own pulse. I make camp, sleep like a rock, wake up, start the long hike back toward the car. 4, maybe 5 hours in, I'm cruising on autopilot, eyes on my compass and the ground in front of my boots. Then I glance up for no real reason, and I freeze. About 40 yards ahead, 5 or 6 oak trees are leaning hard toward each other. Trunks at crazy angles, like someone tried to build a giant teepee and gave up halfway. All their tops are tangled together into one solid dome of leaves and branches, 30 feet off the ground. Never seen anything like it. Looks almost deliberate. I figure it's a den. Maybe a bear dragged branches together or something. Curiosity beats caution, big mistake. So I start walking straight toward it. 10 steps in, the loudest hollow thud echoes down from inside that green dome. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Like someone smacking a baseball bat against a metal pipe, but huge and empty sounding. The hairs on my neck stand up straight. I stop dead. 30 seconds of silence. Nothing moves. Tell myself, okay, whatever's up their nose, I'm here. Back away slow. I take 3 careful steps backward. THUNK thunk. Same sound, softer, but definitely coming from inside that canopy. My heart's hammering now. Keep reversing. Eyes locked on the dome, ready for a bear to come charging down one of those trunks. I'm maybe 50 yards away when the noise changes. It sounds like old wood stretching, fibers popping, the exact noise you hear right before a tree crashes in a windstorm. Then the rustling starts, loud, like a storm moving through the leaves, but there's no wind. And the trunks start to lift. One by one, smooth and quiet, those oak trunks rise straight up out of the ground, roots dangling underneath like tentacles. Dirt whispers off them as they go vertical. Then they lower again, soft as elevator cables, sinking back into the earth with barely a sound. Another trunk lifts. Another lowers. The whole green dome is dropping, slow and steady, coming toward me. That's when it clicks. Those aren't 5 trees. It's one thing. One living thing. Those trunks are legs. The canopy is its body. It's lowering itself down to the forest floor like a spider dropping from the ceiling. Only this thing is the size of a goddamn house. I don't scream. I don't think. I just turn and I run. 45 pounds of pack on my back, roots snagging my boots, branches whipping my face, and I am flying. I have never moved that fast in my life. Pure animal panic. My brain is a siren screaming one word, run. I sprint half a mile, maybe more, before my legs finally give out. I collapse, puking my guts out, gasping, tears and snot everywhere. When I finally look back, the forest is empty, just trees. Normal trees. I walk the rest of the way to the car with my head on a swivel, jumping at every bird, every squirrel, every shaft of light that moves wrong. That night I drive home in silence, convinced I'm losing my mind. Doctor runs tests, nothing wrong with me. Scour the early internet looking for anything that matches what I saw. One guy on a cryptozoology board describes the exact same thing. A walking cluster of trees that turns out to be one camouflaged creature. He calls it a giant stick insect the size of a city bus. I never went back to those deep woods again. Sometimes 29 years later, I still wake up hearing that hollow thunk, echoing down from the leaves, and I know something is still out there. Wearing the forest like a costume, waiting for the next person stupid enough to walk underneath it. Story 3. Last fall, me and my best buddy, let's just call him Bud, decided to do a quick one-night camping trip up in northern New England. Place literally called Satan's Kingdom. Yeah, that should have been the first red flag, but we thought it sounded metal as hell. We load the Jeep with beer, hot dogs, a 30-year-old tent, and drive up laughing about how we get drunk and scare each other with ghost stories. Day 1 is perfect. We find a killer clearing a mile in, set up camp, throw frisbee, roast dogs, pound beers, fall asleep under the stars like idiots in a truck commercial. Day 2 is when everything turns into a nightmare. Late afternoon, Bud wanders off to grab firewood. 2 minutes later, I hear him scream, not yell, not curse, full-on horror movie scream. He comes crashing back through the brush, holding his forearm, face white as paper, eyes the size of dinner plates. He yanks up his sleeve, and Jesus Christ, there is a swollen red welt the size of a baseball with 2 deep puncture holes oozing thick yellow-green goo. He's shaking, going bug. Biggest fucking bug I've ever seen, fist-sized. Bit me and flew off. I'm thinking horsefly, maybe a mutant deer flea, whatever. Slap some neosporin on it. Laugh later. We don't laugh later. By sunset, he's burning up, sweating through his hoodie even though it's 40 degrees. Arms swollen to his elbow, angry red streaks crawling toward his shoulder like poison, racing through the veins. He's shivering, then kicking the sleeping bag off, saying he's boiling, then shivering again. Midnight hits, and he's dry heaving into the bushes, curled in the fetal position, whimpering that it feels like something's moving inside the bite. I say, screw it, we're going to the ER. Bud, stubborn as hell, refuses the hospital, begs me to just drive him home. So we pack up at 1 a.m. and hit the road. 20 minutes into the drive, he suddenly screams, pull over now! He's clawing at the door handle before I even stop, jumps out, stumbles into this dark field beside the road, disappears into the tall grass. I sit there with the headlights cutting across empty field, engine idling, waiting for him to take a leak or puke or whatever. Then the scream comes again. Blood-curdling, animal wrong. I'm out of the Jeep yelling his name when I see him limping back fast, hands dripping red, pants around his ankles, face completely drained of color. He dives into the passenger seat, slams the door, and just starts yelling, go, 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 hospital now. Blood is everywhere, smeared on the seat, on the dash, on his face where he wiped it. I floor it. Whole ride he won't talk, just rocks back and forth, whispering it moved, it moved, it moved. We finally hit the ER. They wheel him away immediately. I'm pacing the waiting room for an hour before a doctor comes out and asks if Bud has been attacked or if he's missing any time. I tell them about the bug bite, and that's it. They let me back to see him once he's stable. He's on for antibiotics, pale, shaking, eyes bloodshot. I ask what happened in the field. He waits until the nurse leaves, leans in close, voice barely a whisper, and says, I squatted to take a shit. Felt something huge trying to come out, hurt worse than the bite. When it finally dropped, I turned around to look, when it was moving. Whatever came out of me was alive, dude. Squirming in the grass, clicking, covered in blood and slime. I saw legs. Too many legs. I freaked, wiped my hands in the dirt and ran. He hasn't slept right since. Wakes up screaming that he can still feel it crawling around inside him. Refuses to let doctors cut him open because they LL find it, and it LL get out. I daren't know if the fever cooked his brain, or if that thing really laid eggs in him and one hatched on a dark road in the middle of nowhere. All I know is something is still out there in Satan's kingdom. Whatever Bud left bleeding in that field is probably looking for its next meal. Story 4. This happened back in 2014. Me and my best mate Paul, known each other since we were 5. Finally get a free weekend with no wives, no kids, no work. Wow. We drive 6 hours north to a private loch in Scotland to do some fishing and camp for 2 nights. Just us, a tent, a cooler of beer, and 2 cheap walkie-talkies Paul surprised me with so we wouldn't kill our phone batteries. Everything's perfect until Saturday afternoon. I've walked 3 miles to the nearest village to buy new lighters because both of ours died at the exact same time. Paul stays at camp to watch the gear. We're joking on the radios the whole way, taking the piss like always. On the way back, once I'm over the last hill, and maybe a mile and a half out, the radio suddenly crackles to life. At first, it's just static. Then I hear breathing, then soft crying. I'm like, Paul, you okay, mate? No answer, just more crying, wet, broken, like someone who's been sobbing for hours. Then a man's voice, Paul's voice, but wrong whispers, Lydia. Lydia, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I stopped dead in the middle of the track. Paul doesn't know any Lydia. His girlfriend's name is Kelly. His mom is Sandra. His sisters are Megan and Chloe. There is no Lydia. I'm yelling into the radio now, mate. Talk to me. What's going on? Nothing. Just more whimpers, and I'm so sorry, Lydia. Please. I start jogging. The crying gets louder, more desperate. Then it turns into full-on screaming. Lydia, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Over and over, distorted, mixed with this awful electronic screech, like the radio itself is in pain. Last thing I hear before it cuts to dead air is one long, horrible, throat-tripping scream that doesn't even sound human. I sprint the final half-mile back to camp, convinced I am about to find my best friend dead or dying. I burst into the clearing, chest heaving, screaming his name. Paul steps out of the trees, holding an armful of firewood, totally calm, totally fine. What the hell's wrong with you? He asks, laughing. I'm practically hyperventilating. I tell him everything I just heard, the crying, the name Lydia, the screaming. His face changes, goes gray. He says very quietly, I haven't told anyone this yet. Kelly's pregnant. We found out last week. We've been throwing around baby names. If it's a girl, we both love the name Lydia. Dead silence between us. You could have heard a pin drop on the moon. He swears on his life he never touched the talk button. His radio had been silent the whole time I was gone. He heard nothing from me until I came running in like a madman. We sit up all night trying to rationalize it. Freaked out hill walker nearby? Some sick prank on an open frequency? We almost convinced ourselves it was just a horrific coincidence, almost. January 2015, Kelly gives birth to a healthy little girl. They name her Lydia. Every time I hold that kid, she's 10 now, I feel ice crawl up my spine. Because for the last decade, I've had one question burning a hole in my brain that I will never, ever get an answer to. What exactly was Paul begging her to forgive him for? Before she was even born? Story 5. September, a couple years ago, Central Texas. I'm at the lowest point of my entire life. Depression's so heavy I can't get out of bed for days. I decide tonight's the night I'm checking out. Plan is simple. Walk to the old radio tower on the edge of town. Climb it. Jump. No note, no drama. Just gone. It's 1 a.m. I sneak out quiet. Start the 25-minute walk. Streets are empty, just cicadas and the crunch of my shoes on gravel. I cut across this big empty field next to an abandoned shipping container, building to reach the tower. Moon's almost full, everything's silver and dead. Halfway across the field, I feel it first. That feeling you get when someone's staring at the back of your neck, only 100 times stronger, primal. Like my body knows something my brain hasn't caught up to yet. I stop. On the far corner of the building, something is peeking around the edge. Just the top half, shoulder up. 8 feet tall, maybe taller, pure white. Not albino white, not painted white. White like fresh copier paper, like it's glowing from the inside. No face I can make out, no clothes, no fur, no features. Just smooth, wrong, impossibly tall, fast. The second my eyes lock on it, it jerks back behind the container like it realizes I saw it. I hear the grass rustle, loud, way louder than something that size should make. Then it's gone. I stand there, frozen. My brain is trying every rational explanation. Drunk guy in a costume, scarecrow, reflection, anything. But my body doesn't care what my brain says. Every cell is screaming, get out, jeet out. I have never been afraid of death. That's why I'm out here, right? I walked 25 minutes planning to die. But whatever that thing was, it was worse than dying. I turn around and I walk home. Not run. Walk. Fast. Shaking, crying without realizing it. But I do not run because running feels like it would make it chase me. I walk the whole way, staring straight ahead, waiting to feel cold fingers on my shoulder. I get home, lock the door, crawl into bed still in my clothes, and I don't try again. That thing, whatever it was, scared the suicide right out of me. I still don't know what I saw. Some people say skinwalker, some say crawler, some say angel, some say demon. I don't care what you call it. I only know two things for absolute certain. It was real. I heard the grass. I felt the air change. It looked at me like it already knew why I was out there. It wasn't going to let me leave that easy. Sometimes on quiet nights, I still feel that stare on the back of my neck, and I'm grateful. Because whatever the hell that thing was, it wanted me alive. And for reasons I'll never understand. That was way scarier than being dead. Story 6. This started when I was 5 or 6. 1988, 1989. My mom and I lived in my grandfather's old house. Every few weeks, around bedtime, never the middle of the night, always right when I was supposed to be falling asleep, I'd see him. A man walking up and down the staircase, hospital gown, head wrapped in bloody bandages, no face I could ever remember. Just blank where a face should be. I called him the Bloody Man. I wasn't scared. Not really. I'd just watch him pace the stairs until he faded. I told my mom once. She laughed it off, said I had an imagination. Years later, I found out that man was my uncle, my mom's brother. August 1982, someone smashed his skull with a baseball bat. Stumbled home, went to bed, brain swelled overnight. Family found him the next morning, rushed him to hospital, died a few days later. I was born December 1983. Never met him. Never saw photos of him in a hospital gown. But I saw him anyway, for years. Fast forward, I'm 12, Mom and I move out. Then move back in to take care of Grandpa after a string of mini-strokes. Bloody Man never shows up again, but the house is still wrong. One day I'm showing my little sister, she's 5, same age I was, how to play Sonic on the Sega. Clear as day, a woman's voice right beside the bed calls my sister's name. My sister jumps up, goes, "Yeah, Ma," thinking it's Mom downstairs. It wasn't Mom. It was our grandmother dead 10 years. Voice came from the floor at our feet, not downstairs. Ah! My blood turned to ice. A few nights later, my sister comes to me crying, "The Bloody Man is real. He walks the stairs. He's scary." She had never been told. Nobody had said a word. Sleepovers after that became hell. Bedroom door on the second floor would start shaking in the frame violent, like someone on the other side wanted in. We'd yank it open. Empty hallway. Then claw marks. Long, wet scratches would rake down the wood while we watched. 5 kids total saw and heard it. We sell the house a year later. Mom finally admits why she was happy to leave. Grandpa, bedridden, wheelchair-bound, had started muttering every night. "Your brother's still here. Up and down those goddamn stairs. Up and down." He saw him too, his own murdered son. 7, 8 years pass. I'm in my early 20s. I run into the guy who bought Grandpa's house at the gym, recognizes my last name, makes a beeline for me, grabs my arm and goes, "What the hell was in that house?" Turns out he, his wife, 2 of their kids, kept seeing a man in a bloody head drap and hospital gowns standing behind them in mirrors. Every mirror in the house. They ripped every single one off the walls, and it finally stopped. 4 separate families. Me and my little sister both saw a Bloody Man at age 5. 3 friends, door shaking, plus scratching Grandpa muttering about his dead son on the stairs. The new owners for people, mirror appearances, same exact ghost, same exact house, same exact description. I've driven past that place 100 times as an adult. Every time I do, I look at those stairs through the window, and I still expect to see him pacing. Whatever happened to my uncle that night in 1982, he never left. He made damn sure nobody who lived there ever forgot him. Story 7. This happened when I was 16.
High school?
Won a government grant. 25 of us got to miss a whole week of class to go restore an abandoned village in the middle of nowhere, Spain. A place called Granadilla. It had been deliberately flooded in the 1960s by a new reservoir. Most people left. The ones who refused drowned when the water rose. Old cemeteries still under the lake. We're there to clean streets, paint walls, feed livestock. Hard work, but we're teenagers with an entire ghost town to ourselves. Nights are wild. Fake weddings, sneaking out to stargaze, screaming at cows under the stars. Pure freedom. First night, the counselors take us to the new cemetery outside the village walls for scary stories. They tell us about drowned villagers, about lovers who jumped from the castle ruins. Classic campfire stuff. One counselor even hides behind the wall, banging and moaning to freak us out. We're laughing, screaming, loving it. Then, around midnight, a car appears on the only road in. No streetlights, just our flashlights, and this pair of headlights crawling toward us like it's in slow motion. Counselors go quiet. That road leads nowhere else. There's 50 kids, 4 teachers, 3 counselors. Every single person who's supposed to be here is standing right there. So who the hell is driving? Car gets close, stops, turns around, leaves. We laugh. Obviously a prank. 5 minutes later, it comes back. It's followed by a second identical car. Old, square, white, like 1950s hearses. Same speed, tailgating each other. They stop again, turn around, vanish. Third time, there's 3 of them. Exact same cars, exact same slow crawl. It's time they pull into the little gravel lot 50 meters away, kill the engines, and open the doors in perfect sync. 3 figures step out. Same height, same build, all dressed dark. They just stand there in the headlights staring at us. I swear on my life I never saw faces, just black where faces should be. The counselors lose it. Teachers herd us back to the village fast, telling us to stay calm, but the adults are terrified. They slam the huge wooden gate, drop the iron bar across it, and lock us inside the walled town like it's medieval times. Nobody says it out loud, but every single one of us knows. Whatever was in those cars was in tea here for a prank. The rest of the week is normal, almost too normal. We work, we party, we try to forget. Last night, everyone's exhausted and crashes early. I can't sleep, still wired from the week. Our house is one of the old village homes. 2 stories, 12 beds crammed in the upstairs room. Big window open for air. Ancient wooden door downstairs that drags on the floor when it opens. Around 1 a.m. I hear it. That door downstairs scraping open, slow, impossible to do quietly. I sit up. Nobody outside. I would have heard footsteps on the gravel. I figure it's a teacher checking we're actually asleep. Footsteps on the stairs. Creak, creak. Painfully slow, like every step weighs a ton. They stop on the landing, pause, then start toward our door. There's a 5-centimeter gap under the door. I watch 2 feet appear in that gap, pressed right up against the wood like someone's leaning their whole weight on it. Handle rattles, barely. Like whatever's on the other side has almost no strength. I stand up the second my foot hits the floorboards. Creak, the thing bolts. I've never heard anything move that fast. It sounds like a freight train flying down those stairs, every step booming like 300 kilos slamming down at once. Door downstairs slams so hard the walls shake. Silence. I wake the whole room crying. We search the house, the street, every building, nothing. Teachers swear they never left their beds. Years later, that village showed up on a famous Spanish paranormal TV show. They talked about cars that appear and disappear, about things that still walk the empty houses at night. I didn't need a TV show to tell me what was trying to get into our room that night, whatever drowned when the water rose. Some of it never left.